process, we have facilitated, Chair, public participation, captured citizens' voices and views. We have advocated also for different reforms and inclusion of people that are marginalized. It is testament, Chair, and evidenced by the fact that in our alliance we have persons with disability, like we have come with our comrade Japheth. We should have come with another Susan from the Albinism who gave an apology. And this is testament, Chair, to show that we are not speaking just from ourselves, but we want to see that all these groups are captured in the governance system of this country. We acknowledge, Chair, that the constitution amendments are an important but very sensitive undertaking. However, after careful analysis of the bill, Chair, wide engagement with communities, and review of the submissions that had been gathered across all the provinces, Chair, the Alliance concludes that the Bill 7 reflects the aspirations of many Zambians who seek a more representative, efficient, and very stable constitutional order. It introduces mechanisms, Chair, that enhance proportional representation, it broadens citizens' participation, and it strengthens institutions that underpin the very democratic governance that we are talking about. This submission, Chair, therefore, sets out a rationale for our support. It highlights provisions, Chair, we believe that advancing constitutional development and demonstrates how the bill aligns with the principles of good governance, inclusivity, national progress. So, Chair, we present this position in good faith and in the interest of contributing to a constructive, evidence-based national dialogue on the Zambian constitution. I'm very particular about certain words we are using. Evidence-based. Chair, it must be noted, like I said before, that the constitution is not a political document, because not all of us Zambians are politicians. But we are all guided in the laws, and we set ourselves as citizens for the Republic of Zambia. Therefore, it's prudent, Chair, to look at matters herein included. So here is the structure, Chair.
Witness, can we... Oh, okay, you are proceeding to the...
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I was actually reading the preamble.
Thank you very much.
And I'm done with it. Thank you so much. So, Chair, the way we've structured, I know we have about 35 pages, but Chair, please do not worry. We are really going to gloss over this and get to the real salient issues of it. And I can promise you, Chair, that will not take much of your time as not supposed to be. So, our structure of our memorandum this morning, Chair, is structured in three parts. One, we have our submission to the proposed amendments. Secondly, we have the justification. Each of them has got a justification why we are submitting in the manner in which we are submitting. And lastly, we are making a recommendation to each of those submissions. And out of the 13 proposed amendments, we would like to just concentrate on about 6 of them, and so we will not take much of your time. And the rest, we have made submissions to everything, but the rest are the details that these honorable members of Parliament here can delve in your own time and appreciate what is it that we've suggested. The first thing, Chair, is that our justification to supporting this bill is that it had a public participation, it had a democratic process, it has a justice for the marginalized groups, and it also has a empirical evidence that indeed every other Zambians that had the opportunity to say something in proportionate to those that were able to submit had the opportunity to submit to the constitutional reform. But also, Chair, our justification is that there's an expectation out there by the citizens of how the outcome of this process must be. The citizens themselves, not us that represent those that are not speaking our language. Article number 1, Chair, that would like to make submission to is that on the revision of the composition of the National Assembly to provide, I'm on page 3, Chair, on the revision of the composition of the National Assembly to provide for the increase in the number of constituencies-based seats from the 156 currently to 111 to actualize the delimitation report by Electoral Commission of Zambia. It is of our preferred view, Chair, as an alliance, that the revision and delimitation of the constituencies to enable Parliament to increase members of Parliament from the current 156 to 211 is actually long overdue, Chair. It is long overdue, and that this bill shall enhance equity distribution on the country's resources and ensure representation of sizable constituencies. This provision, Chair, therefore supports equal sharing of the national wealth to all without leaving anyone behind. Chair, as you may be aware, Zambia in the SADC region is the least in terms of the representation of members of Parliament according to the sizes. And we have the data and the details. For example, Chair, South Africa has got 65 million people of population and they have 400 members of Parliament. Tanzania has got 70 million, they have got 396 members of Parliament. Zimbabwe has got 16.7 million, Chair. That is less than Zambia, which is around about 22 million. But they have 270 members of Parliament, 156.
The expressly provided for requirement in terms of Article 79(6) to do with when you are amending
representation, Chair. We are doing an injustice and a dissatisfaction to ourselves by having less representation in the National Assembly, because then we are having proportionate of the population to very few members of Parliament that should represent them. I think that is not fair, and we feel, Chair, that your National Assembly should support this particular clause because it enhances representation. I want to be represented by a member of Parliament that I will see periodically and oftenly in the term and life of his time in the National Assembly, not a member of Parliament that only comes after 4 years, not because it is his making, but because the constituency is too big and he can't manage to meet me a number of times. That, Chair, must be noted very clearly, that we need this delimitation. We need more members of Parliament. We need more constituencies so that representation is proportionate to the ratio of the people that are in this country. So that is just a small example of the SADC. We are the least, even the small Lesotho has got more members of Parliament. Chair, the other thing is that the population of Zambia has increased from independence. At 1980, Chair, we had about 5.7, and at this time we have 2 million, and yet we have representation of Parliament which is stagnant. I think we are not moving with the currents. We are not moving with the dynamism of what is happening to us. Secondly, Chair, the revision of the electoral system for the National Assembly to provide, which is Article B in terms of what you sent to us, to provide for mixed member proportional representation system. Chair, as an alliance, civil society alliance on legal reforms, we express very strong support for this particular introduction of the mixed member proportional representation electoral system. We think, Chair, that the mixed member proportional representation presents a very progressive and inclusive electoral model capable of transforming Zambia's representative democracy by ensuring that historical marginalization that has happened over the years, where women have not had representation, persons with disabilities have not had careful representation, the have not have very concretized representation. For once, we are going to have an electoral system that helps these particular groups of people to come and gain meaningful space in the governance system of this country. So our justification, Chair, is that the proportional seats allow parties to nominate candidates from
those pronouncements,
thereby increasing their chances, Chair, of entering Parliament, even when they face a lot of structural disadvantages. Women are disadvantaged. The other meeting, I think I was Chair,
that in our view,
media action, where ECZ director told us you need roughly about 1.8 to 2 million as a member of Parliament to galvanize, to get support for votes in an election. 1.8 million. Women in this country are disadvantaged in terms of that finance. People with disabilities are disadvantaged. Youths are disadvantaged in terms of that finance. But when we have a law that speaks to the fact that these must be in Parliament, we as a country, the Constitution itself, shall find means and ways to make sure that these people really get into Parliament. And that's the reason why this clause is very important. Chair, it also underscores the fact that the least component of this, I'm on page 5, it also underscores, Chair, that the political parties, therefore, our submission and recommendation is that whilst this should be passed in Parliament, we should have substantive laws or laws that compel parties, political parties, to make sure that in their selection or in their nomination adoption certificates that they give, it should also be in tandem and in proportionate to this particular provision in the Constitution, so that from the political parties we are going to be having the same structure of people with disabilities, the percentage of the youths, the percentage of the women, and the rest of us that want to compete against each other. So we propose that there should be that legislation that compels political parties to be able to do that. Maybe it's high time we activated, the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue to start discussing these issues other than becoming defunct and not discussing matters that are real and are affecting this country. It also, Chair, advances Zambia's commitment, Chair, in terms of our regional and international frameworks, such as the SADC, the African Union Agenda 2063, and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, for example, to be able to participate in the governance and in all decision-making processes of the country. So why are we not adhering to that? So, Chair, we submit that this justifies why we should be able to do this. The gender policy also emphasizes on women political empowerment. And so because of that, we feel as civil society organizations on the legal reforms that the adoption of mixed member proportion representation system, when implemented with clear guidelines to guarantee the participation of women, youth, and persons with disabilities, MMP will become a powerful instrument for strengthening Zambia's democracy, enhancing fairness, but also building a parliament that truly reflects the people that it serves. Chair, I'll go next to C, which is revise the provision relating to the fresh nominations. On page 6, as Civil Society Alliance on Legal Reforms, Chair, we support the revision of the provision in Bill number 7 relating to how fresh nominations are handled when a candidate resigns before an election. We believe, Chair, that the current practice under the Electoral Process Act and constitutional guideline has at times created uncertainty. It has increased election-related disputes, and it has disrupted the democratic process of this country. The proposed revision, Chair, offers an opportunity to be able to strengthen clarity, It gives an opportunity in order to strengthen fairness. It gives an opportunity to be able to strengthen administrative efficiency in the electoral system. Chair, our justification for that is that ambiguity in the current framework often disadvantages other candidates, page 7, and parties who may not have adequate time to be able to nominate replacements. Chair, our justification also is that equal opportunity is a safeguard when all political actors understand the rules and the deadlines in advance. But also our recommendation, Chair, is that without clear rules, resignations may be used to delay elections, destabilize campaigns, or create confusions among voters. And because of this, that's the reason why I think we need to be much more clear in terms of that particular clause in the Constitution. Chair, like I said, I'm really glossing over and cruising through our 35-page document just to give a skeleton of the idea of this. But we have the meat and the details in our document. But also we think that this particular issue will protect voters' confidence and electoral stability. And aligning the provision with the mixed member proportion, the revised nomination rules should be harmonized with the system proposed under Bill 7, ensuring consistency between constituency races and party list mechanisms. The conclusion of this mixed member is that as an alliance, we support this revision relating to fresh nomination following resignation of candidate, a cleaner, more transparent and well-structured nomination process which will enhance fairness and reduce electoral disputes. Chair, the next clause is revision provision to by-elections. Our submission, Chair, is that as an organization we are committed to strengthening democracy, governance, promoting inclusive and political participation. And this particular bill is just one of the critical areas where we believe the bill offers an important reform opportunity. On page 9 is the revision of provision relating to by-election, especially those arising from resignation or withdrawal of candidates. Our position aims to ensure that the reforms, Chair, uphold the democratic choice, minimize unnecessary electoral disputes, and guarantee value for public resources. We propose, therefore, Chair, that clearly defining the time frame within which candidates' resignation or withdrawals triggers reopening of nominations, continuation of process with remaining candidates. But we also propose, Chair, that we ensure that the Electoral Commission of Zambia is empowered to make timely, transparent decisions that minimize disruptions to the electoral calendar.
Because I'm sure the lawyer now realizes.
We also propose, Chair, that we guarantee that voters maintain a meaningful choice among candidates, avoiding scenarios where by-elections become uncontested due to procedural loopholes. Chair, I'll quickly skip to the next clause, which is on page 10, which is E, revising the number of nominated members of Parliament. Our submission: the Civil Society Alliance on Legal Reforms welcomes the opportunity to present its position on this amendment. As a coalition committed to strengthening democratic governance, Chair, promoting inclusivity and deepening constitutional accountability, we acknowledge that the bill's broader objective of improving the efficiency and representative of the Zambian governance structure, one of the provisions that warrants careful consideration is the proposed revision of the number of nominated MPs. This submission outlines the Alliance position concern and recommendation that ensures that nomination systems supports not undermining democratic representation. So, Chair, what we are saying here is that the nominations of MPs should still be proportionate to a number of the members of parliament, but it would be fair that we maintain what is currently there, which is 5% of that particular number of nominated members of parliament. Chair, let me quickly go to
Witness, I take note of your submission. There are justifications. You could be providing a summary.
a summary of this. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Harmonization of the term of parliament to councils to achieve a 5-year term. The Civil Society Alliance on Legal Reforms welcomes the opportunity to contribute to the national conversation. But as an organization, we think that one of the critical matters addressed here is this harmonization of the local government councils establishing 5-year term. This submission outlines the Alliance support for the harmonization of the term, while providing justification. Our submission is that we support the harmonization of the term of the National Assembly and Local Government Council to 5 years as proposed in the bill. This alignment is consistent with democratic international best practices and contributes to a coherent government framework. Specifically, we recommend clear constitutional language that explicitly states both institutions, Parliament and councils, hold office for 5 years. Harmonized elections scheduling, ensuring that general elections for both councillors and members of parliament occur simultaneously unless exceptional constitutional circumstances dictates otherwise. Our justification for this is that, Chair, it promotes institutional coherence and stability. It also enhances efficiency and reduces electoral fatigue. It strengthens public accountability but supports also national development. But it also reflects best practices in comparative democracies around us. So we recommend, therefore, Chair, that to further strengthen the amendment, explicit constitutional clauses ensuring a uniform 5-year term for both Parliament and councils, ambiguity in there, but also a harmonized fixed election date, which we have, but I think harmonizing it with the 5-year term. I'll jump to G, Chair. Provide for a vacancy in the office of minister and provincial minister 90 days before a general election. Our submission, Chair, is that specifically we recommend that clarity on how vacancies are to be filled within the 90-day period, whether through acting appointments or caretaker arrangements, or leaving the position vacant until the incoming administration is sworn in. But we would like to ensure that any appointments made during the period is limited to caretaker functions if it is within that particular period, to prevent misuse of executive powers during that particular election period, but also to prevent the exploitation of the provision through strategic resignations designed to influence or politicize the election environment. The justification is that this will ensure administrative stability during the pre-election, but it also prevent abuse. It will also strengthen the principle of level playing field and enhance transparency and public confidence. Chair, I will jump the 2-term limit for the mayor and council chairpersons, because I think I've been following what others have been submitting, and I think we are in agreement with that. And I'll quickly go to page 19. Revise the composition of the councils to include members of parliament holding constituencies-based seats. Chair, as an alliance on legal reforms, as a coalition dedicated to strengthening democratic governance and promoting effective decentralization, we recognize the importance role that local government structures play in service delivery, community representation, and inclusive development. Decentralization has become a game changer, and that is where we are seeing the CDF being able to bring development closer to the people, and we feel that this decentralization has even come very late. I know your committee has Honorable Newton Samakai, who worked at the Secretariat of Local Government, and in 2013 we designed and formulated the decentralization implementation plan, the DIP, in Siavonga at Manchichi, and we were very worried that that particular document was not being implemented for over the years, until now when it was implemented and it is benefiting the people of Zambia. I wished Honorable Samakai was here to attest to that. But it is good, and because of that, we do think, Chair, I'll go to the submission, that the inclusion of MPs in councils should be approached with caution to avoid undermining with national political interests. Number two, clearly defined, limited, and just complementary to council's mandate, rather than granting the MPs voting rights or executive authority within council structures. We're coming from an environment where the Constituency Development Fund was considered and viewed by the public as pocket money for the MP. So, Chair, this is our submission, that because of those misconceptions, it would be good for clear guidelines and definitions of what the MP is going to do. I'll quickly go to the justification of that. We are going to protect the local government's autonomy, Chair, by doing so. We also prevent over concentration of power at local level, but we also make sure that the councils represent themselves at that level in their space as well. So the recommendation is that we retain the councils as autonomy, but also making sure that the MP sits there but has clearly defined less but more supervisory role, other than really getting involved in many of the activities. I think that's our submission on that particular one. Revising of the qualification of the appointment to office of secretary to cabinet. We do think, Chair, that we support that this bill should go to National Assembly, but we think that the submission of the proposed qualification, the Alliance recognizes the intent and the gravity of having experience in that particular office. It is possible for a 30-year-old citizen to have 5 years experience. And if I'm president, and this 30-year gentleman that started work at 22 and has gathered 5 years experience, I'll make him secretary to cabinet. But we all are aware and agreed here that the possibility of the experience in terms of living on earth and having, grappled with life issues of a 30-year-old is very different from somebody that has really gained massive experience of 10 years or 20 years. So, Chair, we think that those that have served at PS level and they have garnered about 10 years. In fact, common practice globally is that most secretary to cabinets globally are people that have really got a lot of experience, even 10 to 20 years consideration. So I think we making it 5 years experience will be opening a huge window of too many eligible citizens, too many of them citizens that can go to that office. That office requires sobriety, it requires huge experience, and sometimes unwavered integrity in terms of serving in that office. Number K, provide, which is 24, page 24, provide for the Attorney General and Solicitor General to continue in office after a general election until new officers are appointed. Chair, we agree with this particular one. Our submission is that we recognize the nature of these two offices. The function requires continuity, especially during transitional periods. And the justification is that this will ensure continuity in governance legal services. It also ensures supporting smooth government transition. It will prevent gaps in the constitution and administrative law oversight. It will align with the international best practices. But it will also reduce vulnerability and risks in terms of the decisions that are made. Chair, our recommendation, one recommendation I want to speak amongst many of us, we have 5, but one recommendation is that we need to clarify that the continuation of office is strictly acting. It shall be strictly acting or caretaking capacity. That is number 1 on our recommendation on 26. Ensuring that the office holders do not make major long-term commitments not authorized by the new administration, because the danger is that you can have people that are in that transition period and they'll commit you as a country to long-term problems, and when the new administration comes in, you have problems sorting out those commitments that they've made. So it must be made clearly that it's basically caretaking and acting, and they are limited to what they should be able to do. Chair, we jump to page 28 on the petition, and that I think is going to be our last submission in terms of this. In terms of the petition, which is provide clarity on the period within which an election petition shall be included. Society Alliance on Legal Reforms, we welcome this particular submission relating to the handling of election petitions. As advocates of constitutionalism, electoral integrity, and the rule of law, we recognize that timely resolution of election disputes is very essential to political stability and public confidence in a democratic process. Therefore, our submission, Chair, is that the Alliance supports the intention of the bill to provide clarity on the period within which election petitions shall be concluded. However, we recommend refining the provision to ensure that a clear constitutional guarantee time frame within which an election petition, presidential, parliamentary, or local government must be heard. So we Chair, recommend that a harmonized approach across all levels of elections is actually put into consideration. But also, we do think that enhancing integrity will make sure that instead of us saying to be heard, it should be to be determined. You know, every petition shall be determined with time frame. If it is 14, it be determined so that we have the cases of what we witnessed in terms of ambiguity, and we learned of words like lacuna and when on all those things. Chair, we want to reiterate, having submitted those particular submissions and our memorandum with you as National Assembly, in conclusion, that Chair, our recommendation is that we urge Parliament, Chair, to adopt this provision with very clear limits and strong oversight mechanism to protect the integrity of the Constitution. We also recommend, Chair, please, that You as National Assembly,
the other time here,
you are the people mandated
entrenched
and given the mandate, including my vote that I gave to National Assembly members of Parliament, was to mandate the member of Parliament in my constituency to go and represent me.
enshrined
And I have the confidence
they cannot
and
be
the
amended
trust
by
that when this bill
It needs
comes,
two-thirds majority plus.
the member of Parliament is going
All other
to
provisions
give it due diligence in terms of making sure that they read between the lines,
of this
they analyze the clauses, and they choose not to betray me as a citizen in terms of their vote to this particular bill. So
provisions in the bill
we do hope and appeal and encourage and indicate to you as members of Parliament and honorable members that the buck stops at you
so the
with regard to this constitution amendment. If the bill is going to have things that are harmful and you choose to vote for it
constitution amendment process
as yes, you would have betrayed Zambians. If the bill will have something that is good and you decide to shoot it down for the sake of just wanting to shoot it down, you would have betrayed us as Zambians.
and then
Because what we want is to see a good Zambia that is governed by the laws and the constitution that speaks to the very things and aspirations that we want to see a good Zambia for. I thank you, Chair. That is our submission.
Thank you, CSO Alliance on Legal Reforms.
generate recommendation
Honorable members, that's a submission from CSO Alliance on Legal Reforms.
of the executive
We may interact with them.
report of cabinet as a white paper.
Honorable Kambita.
It is that white paper that they would take now to
Thank you very much, Chair.
Parliament.
I notice on page 9 of their submission that the Alliance supports the revision of relating to filling in of vacancies and handling of nominations during by-elections
From the review commission
where a candidate resigns after
taken to cabinet
filling in nominations. However,
to begin to document
they recommend that the provision
that
be
is
strengthened to ensure clarity, fairness, and
and
protection of voter rights.
over bill number
I want them to clarify a little further
cabinet
on what they
received
mean
report
by strengthening and ensuring
and
clarity
attendance
and fairness of voter rights. If you can
and what cabinet did was
probably
analyze
promulgate
the report and
that
make
so that we can
and
understand what you mean.
which shall be presented on Friday to the select committee
Honorable Anakoka.
in agreement with the technical
Thank you, Chair.
report
Civil Society
conduct of people from
Alliance on Legal Reforms. Thank you very much for your passionate submission. On the qualifications for, no, not on the qualifications for the Secretary of the Cabinet, I want to start with the Attorney General and Solicitor General staying in office. You are making a very strong conditional recommendation. You are saying that you support the proposed
so they not
amendment,
say
but you emphasize that it has to be strictly on acting basis.
play draft bill should have been
How do you legally envision that or envisage it to happen, given that it will be within the normal term of office for the Attorney General and the Solicitor General? How can they move from being full-time, 100% empowered to work within the mandate as given by the Constitution, to becoming acting? And in any case, even an acting Attorney General would still act with full powers. So with that understanding, do you still want to suggest that there has to be conditionalities to this continuation in office by the Attorney General and the Solicitor General? Thank you, Chair.
can cause
Thank you. Honorable Nyambosi, you are done. Witness, you may proceed and respond.
the judiciary and any other
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Kambita, for that intervention of voter rights. So what we mean by protecting voter rights is basically we are saying that in every electoral process, for it to have the validity and the mandate of that particular office, we are suggesting that whilst we agree with the mixed member proportion, but when it comes to the members of parliament filling up the vacance of a position that has fallen vacant, it should have the legal backing and the endorsement of the voters themselves. So basically, Chair, we are saying that every vacancy in the National Assembly should have citizens participate in them being there. So we are basically saying that other than leaving this to the preserve of a particular group of people that should nominate an individual to represent a group of people, let the people choose who represents them. And that is, I think, very good democratic practice, and that would support good governance. So, Chair, I see a situation where if it is left to the preserve of a group of people, whether it may be political party or whatever, is that I am member of parliament for Kalengerenge. I'm just giving as an example. You know, new constituency Kalengerenge, probably I might, you know, Kalengerenge on the border of where you can't go with. So in an event that I'm a member of parliament for Kalengerenge and my position falls vacant, then because the decision has to be made by a particular group of people, and I come from Kalengerenge, so the grandmothers and everyone else know me there, and they thought this is the boy that should be able to represent us, because they know the issues that I know about what they go through. But when we leave that to a nomination, there's a possibility that as human beings, we might give Kalengerenge an individual that has no idea, no slightest idea of what really those people are grappling with. And so that will create a serious developmental hitch and obstacle, because then this person has to first go and assimilate, make themselves be known and be accepted by the electorate, and that, I think, becomes an obstruction to development. So that's why we are saying there must be voters' rights and voters' participation in that. Secondly, for the Attorney General and the Solicitor General, Honorable Anakoka, thank you for that intervention. It's very helpful. And that's the reason why there should be these reforms, to be able to discuss this. And thank you for National Assembly for allowing citizens to add a voice to this, so that we... So the idea is that in the transition period, Honorable, there is the human aspect that can make people make decisions that can, you know, create problems for those that would come later. So our submission is coming from a backdrop of the fact that if they are in an acting position and clearly it's defined to what extent they can make, especially very big commitments, country commitments, that they should get clearance, maybe from the executive, that remains, because currently the Solicitor General, when Parliament is dissolved, the Solicitor General's position is also dissolved. If it continues. So what we are saying is that it would be better that they are in an acting position, because in the transition position, they are not guaranteed they will still be Solicitor General in the new administration. It's not guaranteed that there will still be an Attorney General in the new administration. And within that period, because it's transitional, and you members of Parliament that provide the oversight in terms of the laws are not currently sitting, they will make decisions that will not come to your house to be able to be approved, and they can mislead the president, they can mislead the executive, and go into commitments that could haunt us in the nearest future when another new administration comes through. So it would be good to restrict the view of decision making, so that they know they have to carefully tread with whatever decision they are making, because they are just acting, because they are just sitting and caretaking. So it is from that breath that we made this particular submission. It's just to safeguard the resources of the country and certain decisions that could otherwise create problems for us as a nation.
Witness, we thank you most sincerely for your submission before this honorable committee, which forms an integral part of our report. And we're most grateful that you took this time to come here with your team and appear. I'd like to lift the immunity that was conferred on you and wish you well as you continue to execute your mandate as a CSO Alliance on legal reforms. Witness, I thank you most sincerely.
If we open the constitution, even on things.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for still being with us on Parliament Television. The Civil Society Organizations Alliance on Legal Reform has made an appearance before the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2025. And still to make an appearance before the Select Committee is the Young Women Christian Association of Zambia. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Potentially has also the there is no day when the women movement did not make a call to government to take affirmative action so that more women.
Thank you, witness. Honorable members, starting with those on my right.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, our witness. I'm Jacqueline Sabal, Member of Parliament for Jigankata constituency. I'm the Vice Chairperson of the Select Committee. Thank you.
Good morning, House of Clergy. Kakuo Stanley is my name, from Kapirimposhi constituency.
What you are saying to say, yes, we are in a hurry to do what is right for the women.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, witness. My name is Weso Kakoma Sefulo. I'm a Member of Parliament for Mwanji constituency in the Western Province and part of the Select Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, witness. My name is Nkombo, Gary Nkombo, representing Mazabuka Central constituency in the Southern Province, also a member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, witness. Jonathan Daka is my name, representing the good people of Chadiza constituency in Eastern Province. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Blessed morning. George Kasabila Kandafura, Member of Parliament, Serenje. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, witness. My name is Brian Kambita, Member of Parliament for Zambezi East constituency in
2016 by PF.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, House of Clergy. My name is Mishek Mtetwa Nyambos. I represent the wonderful people of Chasefu constituency in Eastern Province and a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, witness. My name is Newton Samakai, Member of Parliament for Mundonga constituency in the Northwestern Province.
Secretariat.
Good morning. My name is Lavmochelo Kawata from the Office of the Clerk.
Permanent witness.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Good morning, witness. My name is Chawezi Chiro from Ministry of Justice.
Media.
That in terms of practice and precedence,
Media.
it was necessary to consult. Now, the question.
Okay, thank you very much. House of Clergy, welcoming you once again, and I would like to guide that as you make your submission, I take this opportunity to confer you with immunity as provided from under Cap 12, which is the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act. It provides you with immunity against prosecution for what you say or provide before this honorable committee. Witness, you are guided not to willfully mislead this committee, or the reverse applies. Witness, for guidance, I do beg that we start from page 3, where it says governance analysis of Bill 7, item by item. You are free to give a summarized version of page 1 and 2 in your own words, but you're guided to start from page 3. And just for guidance, honorable members, the submission has been sent online as we wait for the physical copies, so we can make reference to what has been submitted before us. Witness, you are free to make your submission.
Where does that leave your citizens?
Chair, we want to thank you and thank the committee members for the opportunity to be here. As guided, Chair, we will start on page 3, but allow me, with your indulgence, to do our simple introduction of who we are as House of Clergy. I think we're a Christian NGO that comes to bridge the gap of civic role as ministers of the gospel, and so realize that I think this has been a missing gap. This is ministry outside the pulpit to see how best we can contribute into civic matters as clergy.
So that is very straightforward.
Let me go direct to our submission, Chair. That is part 2 of our submissions, which has Bill 7 analysis item by item. And we start with item number 1. Mixed member proportion representation. I have to make mention, even before I proceed, Chair, that I think our submission is premised on 2 grounds that I might indicate, which will be justified later, maybe in our recommendations, that we note that this is the highest process that has widely been participated in terms of submissions, and we attach that seriousness to this process. From all the previous commissions so far in history, we've taken note that over 11,000 Zambians turned up to make their submissions, making this process more serious, inclusive, and more participatory. Secondly, I think we would want to rely also on a scripture that a wise man sees danger from afar and hides himself. So those 2, they guide our submissions. Item number 1, which is mixed member proportion representation, the institutional rationale. Zambia's current first past the post system produces governance inefficiencies documented in electoral analysis. MPs represent minority vote shares, 40 to 45% of constituencies in many cases. Geographic disparities create an equal representation. Minority perspectives are systematically excluded from parliamentary deliberations. Party coordination across constituencies becomes difficult in multi-candidate environments. Mixed member proportion representation addresses these institutional deficiencies by ensuring proportional seat allocation. This is not merely a technical change. It improves legislative representation by increasing seat-to-vote correspondency, reducing wasted votes, and enhancing minority representation. International research demonstrates that proportional system strengthens coalition-based governance, require parliamentary consensus building, and increase legislative expertise through larger committee structures. From a civil society perspective, proportional systems strengthen policy responsiveness to diverse constituencies. When parties compete for proportional support across the electorate, they develop more comprehensive policy platforms addressing varied community concerns. This creates stronger incentives for accountability to civil society organizations, including faith communities advocating for social justice priorities. We have broken down these into their perspective categories. Item number 2, we're addressing the issue of women representation and addressing institutional barriers. Women comprise approximately 50% of Zambia's population, but hold significantly less than 50% of parliamentary seats. This underrepresentation is not accidental, but reflects documented institutional barriers, discriminatory nomination practices, resource constraints limiting campaign capacity, gender-based violence, and harassment in electoral processes, and structural disadvantages in FPTP competition, where incumbent advantage favors established, predominantly male politicians. Bill 7's provision for 20 constitutionally guaranteed women's seats addresses these institutional barriers through constitutional reservation. This mechanism is widely used internationally. Examples like Rwanda, South Africa, Morocco, Kenya, and is increasingly recognized as an evidence-based approach to overcoming entrenched gender disparities in political representation. Research also demonstrates that women's legislative representation improves policy outcomes in issues affecting women and families. Increased investment in health and education, stronger enforcement of gender-based violence protections, improves child welfare policies, enhance fiscal transparency. Women legislators bring distinct perspective to economic policy, fiscal priorities, and social protection, improving overall legislative quality and responsiveness to population needs. Let me go to item number 3, youth representation. Zambia's population is exceptionally young. Over 60% of citizens are under the age of 35. Youth represents a significant demographic constituency whose interests and concerns are systematically underrepresented in Parliament. The average age of Zambian MPs, 51 years, creates a systematic bias towards older age cohorts in legislative priorities. Youth face distinct institutional challenges: high unemployment, 27% of youth versus approximately 12% adult unemployment, limited access to credit and entrepreneurship support, education quality concerns affecting employment prospects, climate change impact with 50+ lifespan consequences. Yet, parliamentary structures provide no guaranteed mechanism for youth voice on these policy domains. Bill 7's provision for 12 constitutionally guaranteed youth seats aged 18 to 35 addresses this representational gap. International evidence from Kenya, Rwanda, and other democracies demonstrates that youth representation strengthens legislative focus on education policy, employment creation, climate change, fiscal sustainability, domains where youth have direct stakeholder interest. Going to item number 4, persons with disabilities representation, 3 seats. The rationale is that persons with disabilities face systematic exclusion. Reserved seats ensure legislative voice and policy influence. The impact of this that it strengthens disability inclusive policy, accessibility, and social protection. It also enhances compliance with UN. This is a convention on rights with persons with disabilities, where Zambia is also a signatory. With international examples of this as Uganda, Lesotho, South Africa, India, and many more. Item number 5, parliamentary expansion. Bill 7 increases parliamentary seats from 156 to 211, a 35% expansion, reducing average constituent size from approximately 90,000 to 65,000 persons. This expansion has significant institutional implications. Smaller constituencies enable MPs to maintain closer constituent relationship and higher accessibility to communities. Expanded Parliament increases committee positions, enabling greater legislative specialization and scrutiny capacity. Geographic decentralization improves representation quality, especially in rural areas. The research on parliamentary size demonstrates that moderate expansion from 156 to 211 as proposed strengthens legislative capacity without creating an odd institution size. Expanded parliament enables more robust committee structures, specialist policy focus, and stronger executive scrutiny for civil society organizations, including faith communities. Smaller constituencies and expanded committees increase opportunities for meaningful policy engagement and parliamentary accountability. Item number 6, removal of term limits for mayors and council chairpersons. Rationale: competent local leaders should not be forced out arbitrarily. Continuity supports local development, and the impact is that it retains high-performing leaders, improves accountability, and ensures policy continuity. Best practices like examples of the UK, South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia. Item number 7, suspension of by-election 6 months before general elections. Rationale: let by-election strain resources with limited value near national polls. The impact is that it reduces election fatigue, saves costs, ensures focus on general elections. Examples like Canada,